Good morning, 6A, 6B, and 6G. We're going to be continuing in our read aloud and because of Winn Dixie for chapters 14 and 15. Before I do so, I would just like to thank the people that handed in their 4 discussion questions. Wow, I'm so impressed with some of you. Some of you gave me multiple paragraphs like that big typed up, and you gave multiple points and examples, and some of you worked really, really hard. Thank you very much for working really hard and answering those questions and submitting it to me. And thank you for the people that have submitted it so far. For those of you who haven't done, just get it done when you can, okay? But again, like for those of you that submitted them to me, amazing job. Continue. I am very impressed with you. Like, honestly, I was really impressed. Very good responses. So thanks. Thank you guys and girls for doing that and trying your best. We are going to be doing chapters only 14 and 15. I think 3 chapters is a little too much. The 2 settings that take place are in this area here, Gloria Dump's house with this weird tree, and then at the Fanny Block Library up in the middle of the diorama here. So, or map, I should say. So I'm just going to share the screen and we're going to go right to chapter 14. And of course, I went to Tumble Books, and you guys can follow along if you have an account there. It's just very simple to open up. And yeah, we're going to start off with chapter 14, and we'll go straight to end 15. Chapter 14. Sometimes I told Gloria the story Miss Fanny Block had just told me, or I imitated Otis tapping his pointy boots and playing for all the animals, and that always made her laugh. And sometimes I made up a story and Gloria Dump would listen to it all the way through from beginning to the end. She told me she used to love to read stories, but she couldn't anymore because her eyes were so bad. Can't you get some really strong glasses? I asked her. Child, she said, they don't make glasses strong enough for these eyes. One day when the storytelling was done, I decided to tell Gloria that Otis was a criminal. I thought maybe I should tell an adult about it, and Gloria was the best adult I knew. Gloria, I said. She said back. You know Otis? I don't know him, but I know what you tell me about him. Well, he's a criminal. He's been in jail. Do you think I should be afraid of him? What for? Interesting in this passage here, she thinks Gloria is the best adult she knows, even over her dad. Interesting. Very interesting. I don't know, for doing bad things, I guess, for being in jail. Child, said Gloria, let me show you something. She got up out of her chair real slow and took hold of my arm. Let's the 2 of us walk all the way to the back of this yard. Okay, I said. We walked, and when Dixie followed right behind us. It was a huge yard, and I had never been all the way back in it. When we got to a big old tree, we stopped. Look at this tree, Gloria said. I looked up. There were bottles hanging from just about every branch. There were whiskey bottles and beer bottles and wine bottles all tied on with a string, and some of them were clanking against each other and making a spooky kind of noise. Neo and Dixie stood and stared at the tree, and the hair on the top of his head rose up a bit, and he growled deep in his throat. Gloria Dump pointed her cane at the tree. What do you think about this tree? I said, I don't know. Why are all those bottles on it? To keep the ghosts away, Gloria said. What ghosts? The ghosts of all the things I'd done wrong. I looked at the bottles on the tree. You did that many things wrong? I asked her. Said Gloria, more than that. But you're the nicest person I know, I told her. Don't mean I haven't done bad things, she said. There's whiskey bottles on there, I told her, and beer bottles. Child, said Gloria Dump, I know that. I'm the one who put them there. I'm the one who drank what was in them. My mama drank, I whispered. I know it, Gloria Dump said. The preacher said that sometimes she couldn't stop drinking. Said Gloria again. That's the way it is for some folks. We get started and we can't get stopped. Are you one of those people? Yes, ma'am. But these days I don't drink nothing stronger than coffee. Did that whiskey and beer and wine, did they make you do bad things that are ghosts now? Some of them, said Gloria Dump. Some of them I would have done anyway, with alcohol or without it, before I learned. Learned what? Learned what is the most important thing. What's that? I asked her. It's different for everyone, she said. You find out on your own, but in the meantime, you got to remember, you can't always judge people by the things they've done. You got to judge them by what they are doing now. You judge Otis by the pretty music he plays and how kind he is to them animals, because that's all you know about him right now, all right? Yes, ma'am, I said. And them Dewey boys, you try not to judge them too harsh either, all right? All right, I said. All right then, said Gloria Dump, and she turned and started walking away. When Dixie nudged me with his wet nose and wagged his tail when he saw I wasn't going, he trotted after Gloria. I stayed where I was and I studied the tree. I wondered if my mama, wherever she was, had a tree full of bottles, and I wondered if I was a ghost to her, the same way she sometimes seemed like a ghost to me. All right, so that's a very, very important chapter. We're introduced to Gloria Dump's tree. And Gloria Dump's tree represents a physical manifestation of Gloria's problems. We know from grade 5, you guys took in the health unit, maybe into grade 6, the substance abuse. We know that alcohol is one of those things where, if people don't control it, it can take over your lives. And we can see here Gloria Dump has a problem. She may still have or had a problem with alcohol. And what she would do is anytime that she would drink or maybe did something bad, she put a bottle on the tree to represent the pain or the bad thing that she did. And of course, now there's all these bottles. And Opal is so surprised. Opal is like, I thought Gloria Dump was like the best adult, and now she's got problems too. And Opal's beginning to realize, I think, and a lot of us, when we realize too, and when we get older, we realize that not everyone's perfect. Everyone has issues and problems. Fanny Block has problems. She gets all agitated in the book. Opal's got problems. She's lonely. Gloria Dump's got problems, because of substance abuse. Her dad's got problems. He doesn't have any money. He's trying his best to raise Opal, and he's pretty poor. So Opal's beginning to realize that in life, everyone's got problems. It's not just her. She's beginning to realize that it's all over. But it's an interesting visual representation of Gloria Dump's pain that's on the tree. So Opal sees a big insight into Gloria Dump's character. Gloria Dump's not as perfect and amazing person as she thinks, but she's still an amazing person. But I think we also learn another lesson too, is Gloria Dump is wise in the fact that she says, don't judge people. And we are not supposed to judge people, for these kind of things. The lesson that Gloria Dump was trying to teach Opal was not to judge people for things in the past, but judge them what they're doing now. And a wise lesson nonetheless. And Opal was really listening to it, and very, very profound chapter. So we're going to continue on with chapter 15. The setting does move on to the Fanny Block Library. Oh, that's not the library. That's some guy. That's what's his name? Otis. Let me get to the library here. Oh, there we go. So moving on to chapter 15, and I'm just going to share the screen and we'll continue right along. Chapter 15. The Herman W. Block Memorial Library's air conditioning unit didn't work very good, and there was only one fan. And from the minute me and Winn-Dixie got in the library, he hogged it all. He lay right in front of it and wagged his tail and let it blow his fur all around. Some of his fur was pretty loose and blew off him like a dandelion puff. I was worried about him hogging the fan, and I worried about the fan blowing him bald. But Miss Franny said not to worry about either thing, that Winn-Dixie could hog the fan if he wanted, and she had never in her life seen a dog made bald by a fan. Again, here we have another simile, the comparing Winn-Dixie's hair falling off to a dandelion's seeds falling off when the dandelion turns white. And again, this author loves a semicolon. She, in this context, a semicolon adds two independent sentences together to make one big, strong sentence that's linked by some theme. Sometimes when Miss Franny was telling the story, she would have a fit. There were small fits and they didn't last long, but what happened was she would forget what she was saying. She would just stop and start to shake like a little leaf. Another comparison here. She's comparing Miss Franny Block's little fits, or when she gets all frustrated, to like a leaf shaking. So maybe Miss Franny Block's memory's going, and she gets frustrated when she can't remember something. But again, another simile here, and also another insight into some of the adults in Opal's life. And when that happened, when Dixie would get up from the fan and sit right at Miss Franny Block's side, he would sit up tall, protecting her, with his ears standing up straight on his head like soldiers. Again, another simile. They're comparing when Dixie's the way that he is standing, and his ears standing straight, just like soldiers. So again, he's another simile. And when Miss Franny stopped shaking and started talking again, when Dixie would lick her hand and lie back down in front of the fan. Animals are really smart. They can actually, some of them can actually read human emotions and know what a human being is going through at a particular moment. That's well documented. Some dogs have gone even for help and got a medical emergency services when someone's going through a heart attack. The dogs are very smart animals. Whenever Miss Franny had one of her fits, it reminded me of when Dixie in a thunderstorm. There were a lot of thunderstorms that summer, and I got real good at holding on to Winn Dixie whenever they came. I held on to him and comforted him and whispered to him and rocked him just the same way he tried to comfort Miss Franny when she had her fits. Only I held on to Winn Dixie for another reason too. I held on to him tight so he wouldn't run away. It all made me think about Gloria Dump. I wonder who comforted her when she heard those bottles knocking together, those ghosts chattering about the things she had done wrong. I wanted to comfort Gloria Dump, and I decided the best way to do that would be to read her a book. Read to her loud enough to keep the ghosts away. And so I asked Miss Franny, I said, Miss Franny, I've got a grown-up friend whose eyes are going on her, and I would like to read a book to her real loud. Do you have any suggestions? Suggestions, Miss Franny said. Yes, ma'am, I have suggestions. Of course I have suggestions. How about Gone with the Wind? What's that about? I asked her. Why, said Miss Franny, it's a wonderful story about the Civil War. The Civil War, I said. Oh, do not tell me you never heard of the Civil War. Miss Franny Block looked like she was going to faint. She waved her hands in front of her face. I know all about the Civil War, I told her. That was the war between the South and the North over slavery. Slavery, yes, said Miss Franny. It was also about states' right and money. It was a terrible war. My great-grandfather fought in that war. He was just a boy. Your great-grandfather? Yes, ma'am, Litmus W. Block. Now there's a story. When Dixie yawned real big and lay down on the side with a thump and a sigh, I swear he knew that phrase, now there's a story, and he knew it meant we weren't going anywhere real soon. Go ahead and tell it to me, Miss Franny, I said, and I sat down cross-legged next to Winn Dixie. I pushed him and tried to get him to share the fan, but he pretended he was asleep and he wouldn't move. I was all settled in and ready for a good story when the door banged and pinch-faced Amanda Wilkinson came in. When Dixie sat up and stared at her, he tried out a smile on her, but she didn't smile back, and so he lay down again. I'm ready for another book, Amanda said, slamming her book down on Miss Franny's desk. Well, said Miss Franny, maybe you wouldn't mind waiting. I'm telling India Opal a story about my great-grandfather. You are, of course, more than welcome to listen. It will just be 1 minute. Amanda sighed a real big dramatic sigh and stared past me. She pretended like she wasn't interested, but she was. I could tell. Come sit over here, said Miss Franny. I'll stand, thank you, said Amanda. Suit yourself, Miss Franny shrugged. Now, where was I? Oh, yes. Litmus W. Block. And I think that ends chapter, 15. So that's good enough for today. So a couple of reflections from what we've read so far. So number one, we're beginning to see some of the, I would say, the character developments of some of the characters. We can see that Fanny Block and we can see that Gloria Dump are not all put together. You know, they definitely have their own issues as well. You know, Fanny Block looks like she's got problems with memory, or she gets flustered. And Gloria Dump's got substance abuse issues, at least in the past, and maybe even now. And there's also a theme of loneliness that seems to run in this book. There's a lot of people that are alone, that don't have, either a friend or a spouse or family members or a pet. And So that's interesting character development on those minor characters that have come in and become actually a bit more major. We also see that when Dixie's role is really about, yes, he's definitely Opal's friend, but he's also almost a bridge or a key between getting people to talk to each other and become human and have these relationships. And um, when Dixie's very smart and adroit, he kind of knows when humans need, a little laugh or to be comforted. When Dixie's a lot smarter than the book or even Opal realizes, the emotional intelligence of When Dixie is quite smart. He's a very unique dog, and I think the adults know that around him, and that's why they respond very well to him. Um, the settings are the settings, and the plot's the plot. There's a lot of storytelling in this book, and I think the strength of this book so far is that it teaches us messages, and it really fully starts to develop the characters and all the different characters' backstories, whether it's Opal's backstory or her mom or Gloria Dumps or Fanny Blocks. We're beginning to find out a lot about these characters through their stories. So very interesting. That's enough for today. Thank you guys and girls for joining me. And, we're way past half the book, done the book, which is great, so keep safe. Do your best to relax and get your work done when you can. And yeah, just again, stay safe. And I'm glad you guys and girls are doing really well. All right, guys. I hope you guys, and of course, there's no discussion question for today. If you haven't finished your discussion questions, just get them in as soon as you can, because we don't have any discussion questions for this chapters 14 and 15 or on Friday 16 and 17. Okay, so for those of you who haven't handed in, get it in as soon as you can. For those of you who have handed them in, thank you very much. Your discussion questions are awesome, and you guys are doing super amazing considering the circumstances. So again, keep safe, guys. Have a good day.